Call a regular meeting of City Council for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 to order. The City of Dawson Creek acknowledges that we are privileged to live and work on Treaty 8 territory in the traditional home of the Cree, Danese, Saulteaux, Sicanee, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis peoples that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business is 2 delegations. 2.1, we have Willy, Waffle, Cherie, Loucks, and Amanda Stafford from the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare October 2024 as Disability Employment Awareness Month in Dawson Creek. So, welcome. Yeah, you guys can just come stand up here. So, welcome. All right. Whereas persons with disabilities are valued members of our community and contributing members of our workforce, deserving the opportunity to work in their community where they are respected and rewarded for their efforts, skills, and accomplishments. And whereas employers throughout the community can further benefit from the positive outcomes of hiring more persons with disabilities. And whereas since 2010, October has been formally proclaimed nationally as Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas proclaiming October as Disability Employment Awareness Month in Dawson Creek will help raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrate the contributions of persons with disabilities, I now therefore hereby proclaim October 2024 as Disability Employment Awareness Month in Dawson Creek. So awesome. It's amazing to have this first thing this morning, but last Thursday we had David Johnson and the Rotary Club put on a Diverse Abilities Employer Appreciation Dinner. Mm-hmm. So it was just an amazing way to start the month off, but to see the awareness that it brought, but also those members of the community that are already involved in it. So it was a wonderful room. And it just shows what Dawson Creek is, because Dawson Creek is truly in an amazing place, so with amazing people, and it was just amazing to see that. So, yeah, so it just an exciting way to start the morning, and thank you for coming in. So
yes,
I'll sign this. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I don't think so. We will be kind of visiting all of our supported employers throughout the month and thanking them for being supported employers. We also would challenge anybody that would like to light up their businesses with the colors blue and purple for National Light It Up for Disability Employment Awareness. That's on October 17th.
October 17th.
Yeah,
great.
And then we are going to be hosting what we're calling a lunch and learn. So look for more details for that on our Facebook page, but inviting folks that are not currently disability employment or employers to come and learn what it would be like and the benefits that hiring inclusively would bring to their business.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that too.
Yeah, there's so many amazing good stories about it.
Yeah.
So awesome. And then I think we are lighting our KPAC facility up right on October 17th. So.
I hope so again this year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, KPAC and the Northern Lights College lit up last year as well as all of our buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
amazing.
beautiful.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we'll get a picture.
Okay, so hold on to the edge of that, Cherie. And then look at the camera. One more.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you again.
You got to see you. All right, next 2.2, we have Janice MD, Marlene Presley, and Tim Plant for Foster Parent Recruitment, Retention and Support Regional Coordinator for Community Bridge in attendance regarding proclamation to declare October 2024 as Foster Family Month in Dawson Creek. So, welcome. Oh, there's more. Hi. Hi, I'm Darcy.
Mika.
Mika, nice to meet you.
I'm Suk.
Suk, nice to meet you.
That's ministry staff.
Oh, okay, excellent. So whereas thousands of British Columbia and foster families provide alternative family care for children temporarily unavailable unable to live with their families and extended families. And whereas foster families work in partnership with birth parents, extended families, and community, child and family services, an integral and valued part of a team that serves the children and families of British Columbia. And whereas First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous foster families help preserve the identity and unique culture and heritage of Indigenous children and youth. And whereas foster families from various cultures support children and youth in understanding and cultivating their heritage. And whereas foster families provide care and ongoing support to children whilst simultaneously participating in planning to assist children in returning to their families, living with extended families, or transitioning to adoptive families. And whereas fostering is a community responsibility and foster families help build stronger communities, I now therefore hereby proclaim October 2024 as Foster Family Month in Dawson Creek. So congratulations. I mean, this says pretty much everything, but it's absolutely amazing what all foster families do really to just help youth, right? I mean, youth is they're our future, and that's what we should be doing. What we do every day is for our youth. So to see foster families and what they do, and I've been exposed to a lot of foster families and just growing up here, but just in life, and it truly is like it's such a giving thing to see what those families do. So yeah, it's an honor for all of us to recognize this today and really just thank all of you. So yeah, thank you. And then did you want to say a few words? I see you have notes there, so there's
Sure, yeah, I've got a few words here. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Plant. I work out of Community Bridge in the Foster Parent Recruitment, Retention, and Support Program for the Peace Region. It's an honor to be here today to discuss an important topic that touches the lives of many in our community and in our region, the recognition of October 2024 as Foster Family Month. So today I just want to highlight the incredible contributions of foster families and the critical role that they play in our society. This month is a time to express our appreciation for these dedicated individuals who open their hearts and homes to children in need. Foster families provide a haven for children who, due to various circumstances, cannot remain in their homes. They offer shelter, love, and guidance during some of the most challenging times in a child's life. These families help nurture resilience and hope in challenging circumstances. The impact of foster care extends beyond the immediate needs of children. By fostering, families contribute to building a stronger, more compassionate community. They foster understanding and acceptance as they exemplify the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Foster parents are caregivers, mentors, advocates, and often the first source of encouragement for the children in their care. They attend school meetings, coordinate medical care, and provide emotional support, all while navigating the complexities of the foster care system. Their commitment goes beyond just providing a place to stay. They are instrumental in helping children heal and grow. And I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude for the 10 foster families in Dawson Creek. Your dedication and love transforms lives and creates lasting change. You show these children that they are valued, and they have a place in this world, and that they matter. The work you do is nothing short of heroic, and I'm grateful for your sacrifice and commitment. I'd also like to thank you, the City of Dawson Creek, for considering this declaration. Your support not only affirms the value of foster families, but also shines a light on the urgent need for more individuals to step forward and consider fostering. So in closing, the remainder of this month, let us take the time to consider how we can support and uplift our foster families. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So that was well said. What, you said that there was a bit of are you looking for more foster homes? Is that?
There's always a need for more. Yeah.
So if somebody's interested in that, what's the process?
They can contact me at Community Bridge or one of these lovely ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, that's great. Thank you very much. I'll sign this here. Perfect. We'll get a picture.
Come on in here.
Go over. Perfect. So thank you very much. Nice meeting you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next 2.3, we have Caitlyn Triebel and Susan Clausen from the Dawson Creek Choral Society in attendance regarding proclamation to declare October 10th, 2024 as World Mental Health Day in Dawson Creek. So welcome, ladies. Hi. Hello. Whereas mental health is an essential component of overall well-being, and promoting mental health awareness is crucial for fostering supportive and inclusive communities. And whereas it is imperative to recognize the impact of mental health on individuals, families, and communities, and to reduce the stigma through education, advocacy, and support. And whereas World Mental Health Day serves as an opportunity to raise awareness, promote understanding, and advocate for policies and initiatives that support mental health and well-being for all. And whereas close to 1 billion people around the world are living with a mental disorder, and relatively few people worldwide have access to quality mental health care. And whereas the global community and workforce are experiencing the negative effects of the economic downturns, remote work, wars, displacement, and the climate crisis, all of which have impacted well-being. And whereas the World Federation for Mental Health has designated the theme for World Mental Health Day 2024 as "It is time to prioritize mental health in the workplace," emphasizing the need for mentally health work environments. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim October 10th, 2024 as World Mental Health Day in Dawson Creek. So I'll just sign this. I think it's, I mean, this says so much, but I think, the world we live in today is there's so many pressures and stress that come with it, and we're seeing a rise in mental health, and it's so important to face that and educate. I've been through a lot on my own, and it's like until you got to that point where you're ready to get the help and reach out, it doesn't change, right? So it's definitely near and dear to my heart, and we're seeing it at all diversities of ages in our community too, which is thank you for being here for this, but also for your part you're doing to help correct it and educate, and we appreciate it, so thank you. You're welcome. Was there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah. Hi, so we first organized a mental health day in 2019, and you'll hear a bit more in my delegation, but we've been off track for the last few years. This year we're bringing this event back, and what we do on October 10th is we bring together, invite as many service providers as we can to gather together in the same space, offer resources, education, and conversation to the community. We have several of our different organizations in there performing, giving spoken word performances, music, presentations. We'll have some presentations this year on trauma and self-care and some of the services that are available in our community. Mental health affects us all, every age demographic, and we are seeing a substance use crisis in our province and in our city. All of these things stem from people not talking about mental health and not having the access to the services that they need. So hoping to help break that stigma and just keep it on people's minds.
Yeah, good for you for doing all that. And I mean also too, just to give individuals the tools and resources out there that can actually help with it, right? You don't need to live in that, so.
Yeah. Additionally, this year we are offering screenings, so mental health screenings through Beyond the Blues with the Crisis Centre BC. So there will be opportunity for people to come in. If they've never talked about their mental health, there's a little questionnaire, and then there's some debrief counselors who will be there just to help point them in the right direction.
And where do they, like if there was somebody that was wanting to reach out for these services, how do they go about finding?
This all will be happening on October 10th at Networks Ministries in the gym.
Okay, excellent. And then what about throughout the year? Like, is it some of these programs and what you're talking about, are not just for that day? Yes.
Throughout the year, there's so many organizations around town that can help and that will do their best to connect you with the right services if you're not at the right place at that time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good. Thank you. And you might as well stay. For the next one? You get to spend all morning with us now. So.
Hear a lot of me today.
Yeah. So our next order of business is 2.4. We have Caitlyn Triebel and Suzanne Clausen, Dawson Creek Choral Society in attendance regarding a proclamation to declare October 4th, 2024 as Kids Music Day in Dawson Creek. So, yeah, amazing to go from mental health to kids too, right? Like both such critical things for our success, really. All right, whereas the study of music contributes to young people's development through heightened skills in listening, reading, self-expression, and creativity. And whereas kids' music is celebrated across the globe with special events and promotions that benefit and celebrate kids playing music. And whereas every child deserves access to music, education, live music, and the opportunity to learn how to play, while every adult needs to be reminded that it's never too late to start playing music. I think that one was thrown in there for me. And whereas free community music making events and activities help more children and adults reap the educational, therapeutic, and social benefits of playing music while significantly enhancing the morale and quality of life in our community. So now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim October 4th, 2024 as Kids Music Day in Dawson Creek. So, yeah, just another, amazing thing to give kids, right? Like to inspire, to give hope, to help change. So, yeah, really amazing for all that the Choral Society and that you do to help the kids. So, yeah, did you want to add on?
Sure. So the official day for Kids Music Day is October 4th. That's a Friday. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, October 5th, we will be providing a few things at the Nowakan Bergeron Center. We'll be teaching 3 free demonstration kinder music classes right in the morning. So anybody can come down and just see what kinder music is and just experience a little play date of kinder music. Later in the afternoon from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, we'll be hosting what's called an instrument petting zoo. And an instrument petting zoo is where kids can come on and please come on down and please touch everything. It'll be chaos in the room and it'll be loud, but we'll have kids hopefully on drum kits, any kind of xylophones, guitars, anything. The Kiwanis Band is also bringing some instruments, so there will be some opportunity to try out things that they may have never seen before, like a French horn or a trumpet. Everything will be sanitized in between and everything on behalf because of a lot of volunteers participating. So yeah, please come down 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Kids of any age, could be adults who are kids at heart as well.
Excellent, that's exciting. So, and then in the morning, if a person wanted to come by, what time does that start at?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay. Perfect, I might come by for that one.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Perfect, well, thank you.
Yes.
That's exciting, so. Is this the first time doing that?
Yes, so globally, Kids Music Day, this is the 9th year, but this is the first time I've heard of it, is just a couple of weeks ago, so jumped on it when we could, and then next year will be better planned.
Yeah, that's awesome, that's
Yeah.
exciting, so. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We'll give you both of these.
Okay, thank you.
Then you guys can sit at the delegation. All right, our next order of business is 2.5. We have Caitlyn Triebel and Susan Clausen here with the Dawson Creek Choral Society in attendance regarding introduction and sponsorship requests. So welcome again, ladies. I'll turn your mic on. There you go, and the floor is all yours. So.
Thank you. So I have a quick presentation to run through with you today. This was made quite a while ago, end of August. This presentation was made originally for a presentation to the Rotary Club, Rotary Sunrise. And yeah, it's just an overview of what we have done in the past with the Dawson Creek Choral Society and what we're hoping to get in this coming year as kind of a reboot season. So I was going to make you guys sing. I did this to the Rotary Club, but and it was a great way to start the day. But I'm aware of the fact that I only have 10 minutes to go, so I'll skip, and you won't have to sing about Phineas the Frog.
Well, and somebody pre-warned you about my singing voice, obviously.
No, make sure all the mics are on.
Yeah.
So what I was going for is you start the day by singing something silly. You feel so much better. Even just having a little laugh and trying to pronounce Phineas was a brave old frog. It instantly helps people it releases that dopamine and helps people feel good right in that moment. So singing together, not just in the shower by yourself, is a really beneficial thing. Quick background, the Dawson Creek Choral Society kind of started around a kitchen table. I was looking for something to do as a newly graduated music student, and there was no singing opportunities in Dawson Creek like there was when I was a kid. So that year in 2014, we started 3 choir programs. I maxed out a credit card and made a really quivering presentation to City Council at that time. And Dale Bumstead jumped in and helped us get going. Paul Javatkoff as well helped with the Oilmans, and he helped us kind of set up our incorporation as a society because he knew and learned quickly that was the way to go. So we incorporated March 2015. The next year we started a junior musical theater program, which ran for 6 years until COVID. The Piccolo Junior Choir is our 5-year-old to 7-year-old choir, started the following year, and then we added a licensed kinder music program in 2017. Changed our brand and updated everything in 2018, and that was when our community reach really started to take off. In 2019-20, we had our largest numbers, our largest requests to sing in the community, the most funding we'd ever had, huge involvement, and then COVID. And you couldn't sing with other people at that time, obviously. You couldn't perform, you couldn't do anything at that time. So we had to kind of shutter our doors for a while, and now this year we're trying to get it back going. So I wanted to give a quick overview of our general mission and our programs. We have 4 main program streams and 4 main mission topics. So the first is to create a culture of lifelong love for music. When we experience the joy of music from an early age, we build those core values and interests that last a lifetime. Music making creates a culture of curiosity, empathy, and generosity. And we start that from birth. We've had as young as 4-week-old babies in our kinder music classes. And just the sparkle in people's eyes from all the way through the age spectrum is pretty incredible. So Kinder Music is our youngest program, so it's for ages 0 to 6, and that's an internationally accredited program that has consistent curriculum across the globe, and it's evidence-based and research-based education for young children. And again, it starts from birth all the way to 6 years old. Our second mission point is to connect with our members and their families and our community. We're dedicated to the growth of the minds and hearts of our participants, connecting with others in response to the needs of our community. So things come up and we see a need that we can meet, we'll jump on it. much to sometimes my board of directors' chagrin. Music builds friendships, connects families, and forms healthier and stronger communities. Through that, we have our community choir programs. Those are from ages 5 and up. We have 4 different choir streams, and those were homegrown programs developed by myself and the other artists that were involved leading through the years. Third is to discover our collective voices in song. So the voice is our primary mode of discovery. We teach singing, but we use our voices not just for song, but also to amplify individuality and meaning. Music has meaning. It has words that are very powerful, and we teach our kids and our adults to speak up and say what is on their minds. Vocabulary, technique, written word, song, all of these things to do with voicing yourself is part of how we help people raise their voices. So our junior musical theater program is our most popular program, also the most amount of work, so we couldn't quite take it on this year, but we'll be looking forward to adding that back in 2025. This is a program for 8 to 14-year-olds, and we put on full-scale licensed productions, and I think we had up to 30 kids in our programs. They were pretty incredible shows, and I got a couple of dads here on council who could probably attest to that. Our final mission point is to inspire harmony in the world around us. Harmony, the definition of it is the wondrous outcome of diverse fields joining together as one. So in music, harmony is all those layers of sounds. In the cosmos, it's how everything works together. We need harmony in our society to inspire creativity and growth. Music is always made better by individuals working together toward hope and beauty. We need diversity to have harmony. You can't have harmony if everything's all the same. So in the community, we work at supporting and hosting impactful community events. This presentation was made before we jumped on the task of organizing a community registration event in early September. So we saw a need. People were looking for how to get more people in their programs. Meanwhile, the public is looking for what's available out there. So we put this together, luckily with a lot of volunteers and buy-in from the community. We had over 30 organizations in the room at the GDI that night, and lots of people coming through seeing what there was out in the community. The next thing, as you heard, is we're doing a kids' music day. Again, it came up and it was like, okay, let's do something. Let's make it work. And these are things that are immediately connecting people with each other, and that we hope to continue doing these things as we can. So why am I here today? Other than the proclamations, I'm here, obviously the elephant in the room is we're looking for money. But really it comes from what happened in 2020 to arts organizations across Canada, where we're at right now, what we're looking for. This is kind of where I hope to take the next part of the presentation here. So little visual for you. This is comparing our first year operating to the year leading into COVID. The first year we operated, we had 3 paid artists. None of us were full-time. We were making contract wages. And we had 64 participants in the 3 choirs that we ran. Skip ahead to 2019 and 2020, we had 7 paid artists. That was choreographers, pianists, dance teachers, my music teachers, everybody together. Some of us were on the full-time spectrum, and others were contracts throughout the year. But we had 195 registered participants, which is actually probably a little bit more than that. Due to kinder music, there's parents involved in the classes too. So that's just counting the kids. we've built something out of nothing. Our financial growth in that time from 2014 to 2020 was pretty remarkable. I would think for a new organization, we grew from a little over a $20,000 budget up to 2019 and 20 should have been around 150 or 160,000 if we weren't cut off partway through. Meanwhile, artists were paid in our community increasingly throughout those years, and would have been if we had gone right to the end of 2020. And then we died. We had a little influx of funding right at the beginning of COVID, which carried us through with our storage fees throughout the years, because we have quite a bit of storage. And that dwindled pretty much to about $200 in our bank account this last spring. So right now we're budgeting for we're starting from scratch, but hoping to start somewhere in the middle, not quite from scratch. We always worked for our money. This is where our money largely came from, apart from earned money, which would be registration costs and ticket sales. We really worked for grants, for sponsorships, and we did quite a bit of fundraising. The grant column that you see there is the teal lines, and that increased greatly each year due to community gaming grants and lots of other project-based grants as well. We had sponsorships throughout those years as well, increasingly as we got through, and fundraising. We had to fundraise to make ends meet. So lots of that. And I just wanted to let you know we're not alone. There's arts organizations across Canada still severely crippled by the pandemic, and every challenge that has come along since then. Cost of living, housing crisis, mental health crisis, all of that. I didn't realize where my clock was. I was looking up there. I was like, oh, there's lots of time still. So I'll try and skip through a bit quicker.
You can finish up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the Canada Council for the Arts is seeing over double the applications for funding from arts organizations, and they have less funding to give out these days. There's big arts organizations in the cities that are struggling to keep the doors open, let alone little guys like us. And artists themselves are reluctant to take the leap back into doing the arts because it doesn't pay well. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, we're missing a lot of this stuff. So Canadians across Canada are experiencing this increasing polarization of politics and beliefs, and everything is just so far polarized. Mental health and housing crisis, inflation, it's hard to get a car loan nowadays. There's fires, floods, everything, and this massive competition for government funding. So we're missing a lot of these arts events that would happen throughout the year that happened so often before COVID. And so really for us, although some of this stuff has gone on, there could be so much more. There could be so much more intergenerational, intercultural opportunities, social cohesion, and building empathy for other people, not being afraid to be in the same room as people who are different from us. Mm-hmm. And really, we need the space, time, and funds to simply create, just for that purpose of creating. So Choral Society is looking to take that leap. We're starting with an over $20,000 deficit budget, just either going to tighten our belts throughout the year or hope something magically falls in our lap. But the programs have a certain cost, whether there's 5 people in them or 25. So we're taking that leap of faith. We're asking artists to work again in arts and culture. For the last 4 years, I have not been working in arts and culture. I've been in the social service sector, which I loved, but here's where my heart is. We have somebody else who's moving back to Dawson from the Lower Mainland. He's taking quite a risk, personal risk, to move back here and try and make a living making music again. We're rebuilding from almost the bottom up, but hopefully start making those ripples again in our community. So yeah, the other thing is we're starting from basically zero. We don't have the operational funding. We weren't eligible for gaming grants, which were our basic core funding before. You have to be running for the year prior. So we can apply again next year, but for now we're starting again like $200 in our bank account at the beginning of the year. So sponsorships, usually we're looking for them for our special things, new capital purchases, program enhancement, travel. This year, we just want to keep the doors open. You can get some information about our sponsorship program by scanning the QR code. I'll just skip past. And then this is a quick overview of our events. Again, the Mental Health Day, October 10th. This will be an all-day event, not quite those hours. It's 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. now. We just had to shorten it for capacity's sake. So that's our first big thing after Kids Music Day this weekend. This concert will reformat into other events in December, just for the sake of not overwhelming people. Come Sail Away is our Winter Gala concert in January. That's our main concert for our first term programs. And hopefully that one we're looking at either on Shaga Hall or KPAC, depending on how ticket sales want to go. One night only, this was a really popular youth choir showcase. We don't have a youth choir this year. This was very optimistic when I made that poster, but we had one person register for youth choir, and in 2020, we had over 20 kids in our youth choir. And the result of pandemic is that we didn't have children feeding into the youth choir. So we're starting back from scratch with that group again and trying to encourage teenagers to use their voices again. And our final concert for the year will be in May. And that concert will be celebrating first of all, recovery and resilience, and then jumping into the unknown and taking a leap of faith. Another QR code. You can subscribe to our newsletters. And that's the end of my presentation. So we're hoping to help build more citizens for tomorrow and more great citizens and just make an impact in our community once again.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the presentation and coming in, and really thank you for what you're doing in the community. And it's clear that you have a passion and love for this, and it's amazing to see. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open up to council first. Questions? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you to the delegation for attending. And I appreciate the presentation. So I guess one question, if a business were inclined to sponsor, and looking at the sponsors, is there, because you'd mentioned enrollment, I'm wondering how much of do you find many of the potential patrons, I guess, cost is a challenge in the sense that, so if a business were to sponsor spots, say, in order to secure your base funding up to a certain point, whether those spots got filled or not.
Right.
Is that something you guys offer?
We haven't thought about it that way. We do have a bursary program that you can feed money into, but so
we've
never.
Essentially, it
way.
works out to be the same thing.
Yeah,
okay,
really.
Good.
But our rates are about a quarter of what they should be to actually cover costs, and that's just because the market won't bear it. People can't afford to put more things in their schedules and onto their budgets. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. I know we've had some at my other gig. We had your application cross the desk for a specific funding program, which it wasn't a good fit for, but there are other line items we might be able to find something.
Okay.
For, so.
Great.
Thanks, Councillor Earl.
Thank you.
Other questions? I had a couple. We also received your letter, so
Yeah.
on the sponsorship. So you said that you approached Rotary earlier this year. So has there been some funds that have come in since
There
you've
have
started this
been.
process? Yeah.
Yeah, there have been. So that was early September. We've had some companies come back with sponsorships, and it's making it so that I'm not going to have to volunteer the whole year.
Yeah.
So right now I'm volunteering full-time hours to
Okay.
get this going. And these sponsorships that are coming in are going to help pay our people and
insurance.
and do
stuff.
more than just insurance and rent.
Yeah.
Also, we are renting space from the Nowickan Bergeron Youth and
Okay.
Cultural Center, so that money's going into them as well.
And how many youth participants do you have right now?
I have 8 piccolo choir, so those are my 5 to 7-year-olds, and I have 19, I think, 8 to 11-year-olds. And then in kinder music, I believe I've got about 20 to 25 families enrolled. So
So you're like 50 from a couple hundred.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's significant.
Total enrollment, I think right now is about 70. So, yeah.
Yeah. So many challenges from COVID. So
Yeah,
in all
yeah,
areas. So.
and you have to rebuild somewhere, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in. Later on mayor's updates, we'll go through this, and then council
Okay.
will decide if we have some room and what we can do to help. So,
Right, okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for coming in. It was nice seeing you, and
Yeah.
have a
Thank you.
wonderful
Thanks for
day.
your time.
You bet.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, our next order of business is 2024 strategic priority chart. So our last update was July 15th. Is there any questions or any updates on this?
So through your worship, there'll be a more wholesome update coming in the second meeting on October.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Any questions on anything? No. All right, next, late items. So I do have one late item, so it's going to make a motion. The late item, to accept the late item actually will be the Elgin Medical Clinic chattel donation. So, I will make the motion, seconded by Councillor Sudnick. And I'll call the motion to add the late item. And the late item will be under mayor's business. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Thank you. Next, new councillor business. So 5.1, we have memo from Councillor MacDonald regarding proposed tribute crosswalk for Every Child Matters and National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to make a motion that council authorize staff to add a crosswalk commemorating the theme of Every Child Matters to be installed in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation at the intersection of 10th Street and McKellar Avenue. Further, that the costs associated with the new crosswalk to be included in the annual line painting budget. And finally, that staff be authorized to engage with the Indigenous Education Department of Northern Lights College to create and design artwork for this crosswalk.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. So yesterday, September 30th, 2024, we commemorated the 11th anniversary of Orange Shirt Day, which was the 3rd anniversary of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I think a large part of our strategic plan was building our relationships with our neighbors and continuing on a path of true efforts towards truth and reconciliation. I think this would be a great step towards that.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Councillor MacDonald, for bringing this forward. One or two thoughts occurred to me, specifically with the engagement with the Indigenous Education Department at NLC. I'm not fully cognizant, and I hope people will pardon my ignorance in this, with respect to is there, and I guess we'd lean on these crosswalks as they exist in other communities, is there an appropriate channel of collaboration in the sense that, and I'm once again just going back to my home place, which initially well-intended, but people didn't go through the appropriate channels to make sure that the name was appropriate or approved and what have you, and it turned into a source of professional embarrassment for some very well-intentioned people. So I just want to make sure, is this advice you've been given by someone on how to proceed with this crosswalk or what the appropriate way to do it is?
Thank you. No, it's not advice I was given.
Okay. And I don't know if it's an issue at all. I just want to make sure we're not going to
Great
step on
question.
anyone's toes.
Something I had not considered. I did consider working together with the Indigenous Education Department would help us with addressing just something like that specifically.
Excellent. And yeah, I guess the only other thing I'd note is a note of caution, as we've seen with other, and specifically the Rainbow Pride Crosswalk. You know, I think the vast majority of people in the community would be in support of this. There is always a risk that there's going to be a small cohort of people who turn everything into a circus with their clownish behavior and are going to vandalize it. And we know in instances where it's happened, it causes a great deal of hurt for the LGBTQ plus community, and you know, is a source of embarrassment for the community when it happens, keeping in mind it's usually, you know, a couple people who think their retrograde opinions entitle them to vandalize public property. I'm just wondering what efforts we can make to ensure that doesn't happen with this. So I'm all ears if anyone has ideas, but I just, I mean, I'm not terrible. I think the cost to install something like this is marginal, and to redo it every year once it's part of the regular flow of operations, I don't imagine is tough. But I'm also thinking of the first time someone goes out of their way to vandalize it, and I hope it's not inevitable, but I worry that it is. That's going to be an issue, and rightfully so. So, Kevin, thoughts?
So through your worship, from a staff perspective, I think we want to be clear if this passes what the expectations are, because again, as you know, those are thoughts that we had as well. As unfortunately, we have to consider those things, and just that, you know, that all has to get built into the potential cost of the project. If we need to repeatedly go back and touch up right now with the Pride sidewalk, if it is vandalized, we redo it once, and then after that, there's a partnership with the Pride Society to look after it. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have a fix on those costs. But yeah, we just want to know if, you know, as far as stopping it, I don't think that's going to happen. You know, if it's going to happen, unfortunately, it's going to happen. It's just what the expectation is from council and maybe the community is if we're going to be back touching it up on a regular basis if need be.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just something that occurred to me. That's not to say I don't support it and I'm not going to vote in favor of it, but unfortunately, something we do need to be mindful of.
Thank you, Councillor L. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. Great point. I see it, but I'd hate to see us not move forward with proper steps towards truth and reconciliation or any of these initiatives just because of fear of what a loud minority will do to it in this. I don't want our good voice to be drowned out in fear of a negative voice. As far as funding pathways, I think there's definitely opportunities out there for us to find a partner for repair maintenance costs in the community. I'd be happy to be out there with the council's permission to go and advocate for those and find those. But yeah, I wouldn't want us not to do this just for fear of somebody going out there and treating it the same way they do the Pride one.
Okay, thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you.
Try that again,
Yeah.
Councillor Apolonio.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, for this proposition. Yeah, I know that it's on the. You mentioned to us before that the spot chosen because of the traffic. Do you like considering, or maybe the city councilling, like for example, in front of the Berger and Nawican, because it's like I'm not saying another crosswalk, but maybe another crosswalk on the Nawican. So I know it's an additional cost, but at least it's like the perfect spot as well to make a crosswalk on that area, like considering or no.
Thanks, Councillor Apolonio. If there's no questions, I had a few things, but one, I did talk to Councillor MacDonald too about Nawican, and so the Pride crosswalk that we have now was their organization that came forward to the city, and we partnered with them to do it. So, although I'm in complete support, and I think this is a great idea, and I'm in support of our next steps to truth and reconciliation, and I believe that we are doing that every day with building relationships, but. I have a little worry with this is just if it opens the door for other organizations to come, to do a crosswalk here or there, and then the city owning them and taking care of them. We already are seeing later when we do our budget assumption report that we've got some serious pressures coming our way. So I guess if we approve this today, what does that set for the next organization, whether it be Rotary or somebody else that wants to, do a crosswalk, where I just was thinking maybe we need to direct the staff to research what other communities are doing and on a policy that we can put in place to adopt this, similar to what we see with the flag raising. Like there's a policy in place for that for a reason. So yeah, and then, Councillor Apolonio brought up in front of the Nawican, and is that something that we approach the Nawican with, and if there's a partnership there, like in front of their location to do it, or maybe it's in front of the event center. I'm not too sure, but my thoughts is that we should direct the staff. The other part is we don't know the cost of it, right? Like, yes, it could be low, but I think for myself to make a decision, I'd like to know what the cost is today and for what the budget would be annually, just before making the decision. And the reality is we're almost winter. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
No.
So just kind of my thoughts that if it is worth, getting staff, and I don't know if Kevin had anything to add to that, but I don't know if you've heard of policies or procedures in other communities, but I just wonder, I know we've had other requests for sidewalks that haven't come to council, but I've heard people talk about different ones. A couple, I think it was COPS, and then there was another organization that asked me a while ago about it. So I just, if we open the door to this and we own this one, where do we stand when, the next organization would like to do it? And
yeah. So through your worship, I think a policy would be a really good idea. It just helps council guide future decisions, whether it be which ones you allow, which ones you don't allow, where they be, who drives the decision, whatever. And I'm sure there's examples out there. Personally, I haven't gone looking for any, but we could do that because I suspect there are some out there that other communities have maybe developed to address these things. If there isn't, it's still maybe a good idea just to have that policy for ourselves to, like I say, to help guide decisions moving forward. So if you do get future groups that come forward, it's not ad hoc. There is some thought going into it and something to help you with that. So something that can be part of this as well.
Yeah, okay. And then this department within the city, I know we're pushing everybody, to the limits in some areas, like to add this scope, and if it became more, like, is it, a significant amount of work to that department, or are you?
So through your worship, the Pride Crosswalk, because of its uniqueness, probably takes anywhere from 3 or 4 days to a week, depending on, weather and a few things like that, to complete. And then depending on, we have to go back, touch it up if there's any vandalization. So they do take a little bit more because of their uniqueness. The typical, white zebra ones that you see or bars that you see, obviously we can rattle those off fairly quick because they're fairly straightforward. So they do take a little bit more time. The initial, sure, it's the concern about having to come back, because if you have to keep coming back, that just takes away from us maybe completing some other ones. We do have limited resources, but if it's a wish of council, well, then what we have to do is put that into what the costs are, and council can consider that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? What's everybody's thoughts on a procedure or a policy, like getting the staff to look at it and the cost? Councillor Earl?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it's good to have a standard way we move forward with these, whether it's we have, a sponsor organization come on board so we can, as you say, who takes ownership of this and to what extent are we supporting that or being the primarily responsible person. As you said, time's on our side around this, so there's no urgency, and that would give staff a chance to get some costs together. I'm in favor of the motion, but I think if this is something, as you said, precedent is always something we have to consider in public office, and we want to make sure as future councils have to make similar decisions, they're able to do it in a fair-minded way. So,
thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor Apollonio?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Apollonio?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Adding to that, because I received last year, I think, for a suggestion like a crosswalk for Remembrance Day. I think I mentioned that to Mayor Darcy, but I think I mentioned to that guy who asked for a crosswalk for Remembrance Day. It's like sacrilege or not respecting the Remembrance Day movement, because you're stepping on the puppy. So that's why I think that's not going to happen. So
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I guess, where's everybody else on this? Okay.
So through your worship, the motion you have right now is to put it into the budget. So that'll come back to the budget. We can highlight it as an item within the budget. So that allows council to see it and see what those projected costs might be. And then if council was to approve this, then subsequently you could do a secondary motion just on the policy side to develop a policy around it.
Policy and cost, though?
Well, the cost will come back in the budget process, and that'll give council that opportunity to see that specific cost, because we'll highlight it in the draft, and then council can decide at that point. Because right now the motion is to bring it forward, the costs to be included in the budget. Council always has final say on the budget, so you still have that opportunity if council was to change its mind, but. And then secondary could be the policy piece.
So then the other part in the proposed motion is the street, right? So we're like Councillor Apollonia brought up now akin this. So would that mean that's where it's going, or would that also be some direction that your team would bring back on if they felt there was a better spot, or they felt, and then the other would be, I guess, working with, this one talks about Northern Lights College, but, maybe there's some other organizations, whether it's school district or Nowakin, that would be valuable.
If council as a whole feels that we should engage, and I think we should, with some various groups, the school district has folks, college has folks, Nowakin, and I think just to make sure that if we do want to do it, it's in the, the proper location, you should include that within, the motion as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Earl?
Just a question to Councillor MacDonald. The location put forward in your motion, was there a specific reason for that, or just the visibility you thought?
Visibility was one, associated close to Peace Park, Central School, and the library.
Yeah.
I felt it was a great location there for it's Every Child Matters, right? And being part of the central school, the library, and Peace Park, it just seemed very fitting to me. And we talk about it being vandalized and people being aggressive towards that. I don't know if I want it on the doorstep of Nawakin for them to witness that aggressive nature towards it with youth they're trying to help. I don't want to see that be right in their face. I wouldn't want to see it in front of Nawakin. Just because I don't want to see youth who are already having a tough time in life having to witness that kind of hate and intolerance right on their doorstep.
Thank you.
Right. So I guess thoughts on adding, Councillor MacDonald, because it's your proposed motion, adding that the city team works with School District 59 and potentially Nawakin? Or any organization that could be, because we'll need an amendment.
Yeah, I have no issue us reaching out to the staff reaching out to any organization they feel would have an appropriate opinion or information that they could help us with. Absolutely, I have no problem with that. And I have no problem with us setting a precedent for this, right, or a policy, right? I think it makes complete sense. I just want to see us taking steps forward with truth and reconciliation, et cetera. I think it's important for this community. I think it's important for us with our relationships, with our neighbors, et cetera.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so would you like to make an amendment to the motion then?
I'd make the amendment that staff engage with Northern Lights College and any other organization that they feel would have information to help in the decision making.
Okay. And then would you be fine on the area? I know that's recommended area, but like if they came back with an area that they felt was.
If they're. Sorry, I keep shutting off. If in engagement with those others, the college, et cetera, and they say, no, that's an inappropriate place for it, and they decide there is a better place, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So we're good on both?
Through your worship, would you like to remove the current language in the motion that indicates that it would be installed at the intersection of 10th Street and McKellar Avenue?
Or could you add either there and or a place that?
Yeah. If you feel it'd be better just to remove a tab, sure.
It's up to council if you want to remove it and add general language at the end with appropriate stakeholders to create, design, and find an appropriate location.
Sure.
Okay.
Everybody's fine with that? Yeah. Okay. So those are friendly amendments, or do you want us? Yeah, I think everybody.
Anybody?
Councillor Apollonio, you were in favor of that? Yeah, it was. I'm assuming Councillor MacDonald was because he said it, so. Okay. All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. We'll take a or actually, no. Is there any other new councillor business? Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple things. Wanted to take the time to congratulate our Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce and their new board. Lots of new people on board with being on the board of directors. And I wanted to congratulate Monica Randall as her election as the new president of our local chamber. And just wanted to wish all the best to Heather Kohler as she has stepped down as president. And I really look forward to seeing where Heather will next focus her efforts and tenacity for the betterment of our community.
Excellent, thank you.
Also, just wanted to say, as part of UBCM, I had the opportunity to go to the community engagement meeting on the first day while everybody else was attending their own meetings. And just wanted to say what a great engagement session it was. I know you're going to talk about UBCM, but I just wanted to highlight being at the community, and just what great discussions we had about truth and reconciliation, which brought upon my motion today. Land management collaboration between communities. And it really highlighted for me just how amazing our regional neighbors and First Nations we have here in the Treaty 8 area are, the forward thinking, the collaboration they're doing with us, and just how amazing it is to be part of this region and the Northeast.
Yeah, well said. Isn't that true? It's just a real community.
It is,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other new councillor business? No? All right, I'm just going to call a quick break here. Next, we were still under new councillor business, so Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just following up on Councillor MacDonald's motion, to make another motion, I move that staff be directed to research and prepare a report for council regarding a potential policy that includes the approval, ownership, location, funding, and maintenance of themed crosswalks within the city of Dawson Creek.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion? No, I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. And no other new councillor business? All right, adoption of minutes. 6.1 minutes of the public hearing, September 9th, 2024 for adoption. Councillor Sudnick, second, Councillor Kempf. I'll call that motion. Oops. Vote is closed. It's carried. 6.2, we have minutes of the regular meeting of council held on September 9th, 2024 for adoption. Councillor MacDonald, second, Councillor Apollonio. I'll call that to vote. I don't have the plus sign to call a vote. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any business horizon? No. All right. Next, 8 correspondence. 8.1, we have a letter from Jan Brekkas, resident of Dawson Creek, received on September 13th, 2024, regarding a request to amend cemetery bylaw number 44992021. Also, there was some dialogue that was sent on this as well. But Kevin, I don't know if you maybe want to speak to it, but we don't deal with these ones too often, so.
Sure, yeah, through your worship. What we have is a request from an individual who has, her parents have a plot in the city cemetery. The existing plot is in an area where uprights are not permitted. And the request in front of you is they would like to install an upright, a vertical monument. So they're requesting council to allow that. Now, there's a couple pieces to that. One, it's a bylaw, so you'd have to amend the bylaw. If you were to amend the bylaw, then you would have to make the decision of whether you're just amending it for this particular plot, this particular section, or the entire, cemetery. Now, some areas in the cemetery allow uprights, so. The other thing is there's been folks that have requested this in the past and have been denied. And then just a little, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background of one might ask, well, why don't we allow uprights? And, what are the differences? So in this particular area, the plots are a little bit smaller and the space between them are a little bit smaller. So that's why it's been just pillow mount, as they call them, low profile monuments. The challenges from a maintenance perspective is that we need to get into those various plots at various times, sometimes to perform an excavation or maintenance work, and we have to get in with equipment. And if there's uprights, it becomes very problematic. Risk of damaging the uprights, or we have to remove uprights to get to where we need to go. And every time we touch it, remove, reinstall, of course, there's risk for damage. So it's just the costs escalate on that sort of thing. So that is why, in these particular areas where they're not permitted, we typically recommend that we don't make those changes because there are some reasons behind it. My understanding is the individual has, they have put money towards this monument, but our understanding is it's not been constructed as of yet. So they're just for council's consideration, so.
Do you want to touch too? I know you mentioned on the other areas that allow these uprights, there's concrete there because of the ground settle.
Yeah, so out at, through your worship, out at City Cemetery, you'll see in the new area that we're starting to develop, we've installed what is called lawn beams. And so they are strips of concrete that the uprights sit on. And the reason is it provides a solid foundation for these uprights. Because what we found in other areas is settlement causes these uprights to start to lean and tip, and then we have to continually readjust. And so there's ongoing maintenance with that too. So the pillow top monuments, the ones that lay flat, obviously a lot less work that comes with those as well, ongoing maintenance.
Okay, thank you. And then you also mentioned too, the reason why potentially this one is coming here is because any new ones that are put up, like the local funeral homes know about our policy and procedures, but because this was ordered from a manufacturer, might have been why it was missed. Not that it's our job to make sure.
No,
that they do.
and so it comes from Peace Country Memorials, is my understanding is who they deal with, who provides the lion's share of monuments that come here. They're aware of our policies and bylaws, but they may not have been aware that the individual hadn't checked with us. It is a bit of a reminder for everybody to make sure they do, check with us before they make plans or spend money on a monument for fear of something like this.
Okay. And then I know there was some dialogue that this individual had ordered, but was there any dialogue, but if this was not approved, that they could switch their direction? Like it hasn't been made?
No,
obviously.
through your worship, we just clarified whether it has been built or not, and our understanding is it has not been built, but they have paid for it or gave them the money for the monument.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If that was enough information for everybody, did somebody want to?
Need a motion?
Yeah, we do, yeah. It's
I
under.
saw the voting was already up there. I was wondering if we was.
No, I haven't called the vote because there's no motion, so. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. One question through to staff. So if staff were to make a recommendation on this, it would be to deny the request for cost and logistical reasons?
So through your worship, in this particular case, yes, due to this being a section that does not permit the uprights, and the fact that if we allow uprights,
we'd have to do it for
potentially opening
everybody.
it up to others,
Yeah,
which then will provide ongoing maintenance costs.
No, and that's the concern, I guess, is the costs that are built into the cemetery. The fees are predicated upon the existing bylaw. Once we start changing that, presumably the fees go up in order to account for the increasing costs associated with having to move stuff and replace stuff and the potential hazards of breaking it.
Yeah.
And as you said, we can't just amend a bylaw for one person because we're sympathetic to their cause. We'd have to do it for everybody, which would essentially upend what's been going on there for I don't know how long. Okay.
But the other part of that, sorry, just to cut in, would be if this was approved, like there'd also be the expense to put the concrete footings in as well, because that you would, if you were to open or change the policy, you would have to do that everywhere, right?
So through your worship, in this particular case, we probably wouldn't install the lawn beam that we do because it's really meant in the new sections. What it would mean is that potentially that, you put the upright is from a settlement perspective, there may be some additional settlement that would cause additional maintenance of it. But I think the biggest issue with this one is that it creates a bit of a restriction on moving around there if we start to allow multiple uprights in that section.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor.
Okay, no, that's fine. Prepared to make a motion that we deny the request.
Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald, any discussion?
Other than, if the motion passes, my sincere sympathies to the correspondent. I'd love to be able to grant the request, but anyway, thank you.
Yeah, well said. Okay. I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. One opposed. Councillor Apollonio.
Sorry.
Oh, was that a mistake?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a mistake on Councillor Apollonio. Do you want me to recall the? Yeah, okay, I'll recall this motion. Vote is closed. It's carried. All right, next 9 reports. 9.1, we have report number 24-089 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Staybridge Suites Liquor Primary License Application. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Move the recommendation, report number 24-095 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding the Staybridge Suites primary liquor license application be received. Further, that Council has considered the location, person capacity, and hours of liquor service for the establishment, as well as the impact on the community, and endorses the comments contained in this report. Further, after considering the above, as well as comments received from nearby property owners, and with the applicant having installed a safety fence that meets the specifications of CN Rail, Council supports the application for a liquor primary license for Staybridge Suites, Dawson Creek.
Thank you, Councillor Sudnick. Second, Councillor Kempf. Any discussion? No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 9.2, report number 24-104 from the General Manager of Operations regarding RFWQ 2024-21 WWTP blower replacement. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. Excuse me. I'd like to move the report number 24-104 from the General Manager of Operations regarding RFWQ 2024-21 WWTP blower replacement be received. Further, that Council award RFWQ 2024-21 WWTP blower replacement to Canadian Western Mechanical Limited for $351,498 plus applicable taxes. And further, the Council approve a budget increase of $445,000 to be allocated from the Sewer Capital Reserve to proceed with the installation of the new aeration blowers.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Any discussions? Kevin, did you want to add anything to this one, or did you want to? I know there's quite a bit to it.
Yeah, so through your worship, as you can see, quite a price escalation on the installation of these blowers. Council approved the purchase of these just about a year ago. I think it was last November, December. We approved because they're long delivery items. We still haven't received them, but we'll get them here in October, which is good. We had estimated the install to be quite a bit less, and it's come in quite a bit higher. You know, it really speaks to the price escalations that we're seeing out there, and I did chat with a couple of my counterparts at UBCM a couple of weeks back, and one of them was actually doing a project very similar to this and with very similar results. Both of us were quite shocked at the cost of just the installation, but it seems to be what the market's demanding out there. And so unfortunately in this particular case, we don't have any options. We did solicit, go through the process. And the reality is it's for the treatment of our lagoons, and if we don't have these, then we have the risk of going out of our permit, which would be not good. So
When's the last time these were replaced? Like, is this something every?
these blowers, if I remember correctly, we replaced them in our time, I'm going to say within the last 15 to 20. Okay, it's 2011, so I was close.
Yeah.
13 years ago.
Guess. Or not good guess, but good memory.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next, 9.3, we have report number 24-110 from the corporate officer regarding South Peace Mile Zero Park Society Beginners and Advanced Pump Track and Bike Skills Track Project Loan Agreement. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation report number 24-110 from the corporate officer regarding South Peace Mile Zero Park Society Beginners and Advanced Pump Track and Bike Skills Track Project Loan Agreement be received. Further, that Council approve the loan agreement between the South Peace Mile Zero Park Society and the City of Dawson Creek for a loan of up to $350,000 interest-free for the Beginners and Advanced Pump Track and Bike Skills Track projects. And finally, that the Society repay the loan within 2 years of receiving the funds with the option to extend the repayment up to 1 year if mutually agreed upon.
Thank you, Councillor Sudnick. Do I have a second? Councillor Kemp, any discussion? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll support this as I supported to approve the project. I would just like to note that in my 6 years on council, this is, I think, the only instance we've ever done of doing a no interest loan to a nonprofit for a capital project on a property that we own but they lease and provide services to. It would be my preference that we never do anything like this again, because it's a really, I just think it sets a really bad precedent for how we approve capital, how we manage city facilities. How I appreciate the snowball picked up speed pretty quick, and we said yes because the credibility of the organization involved and the effort they'd put into it and how hard they work. But this arrangement, I don't think, is something that's going to be workable or desirable for the city or staff moving forward. So that's my one caveat is to say it very much my preference that this be a one-off.
Is that something that could bring forward a motion or a policy for future, or just black hole?
So through your worship, I mean, this is the challenge, right? So we've got some great groups out there that are on our property and doing fee-for-service type work. That means they're doing something that we can't or wouldn't, or we can't afford to do ourselves. So we have these great groups doing it on our behalf. They come forward with projects, and we see this here, and we've seen it in other areas like fairgrounds or other properties where it's a priority to them, and so we support them because they're taking on the project. It's our property, but then if in an instance where sometimes if they run into some snags, it's our property, and then we become involved with it. The reality is on this particular one, if they weren't doing it, we wouldn't be doing it because it's not a priority within our scope of projects. But it was something they wanted to take on, and they have. So I'm hoping that, it works out for them and they're able to they've got 2/3 or better of it done, and, looks great. Hopefully they're able to complete, and hopefully their funding and grants come through, and see where it all lies. I think council should request that the group come in and provide an update, maybe once the construction season is complete and either they're done or the weather says they're done, and give council an update of where they're at, where the funding is, kind of what the perspectives is and what we should expect as we move through our budget process, and if there's any implications for us.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have them come in and just, I know there's a couple that aren't confirmed yet of their grant amounts, but also what the plan is moving forward to, to honor this agreement right now, so. Okay. So would you, after this, should we make a motion to invite them? Yeah, okay. All right, any other discussion on this? I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Janice, would we make that motion now? Okay. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship. I would move that the city extend an invitation to the Mile Zero Park Society Board of Directors to appear before council as a delegation at a meeting in the not-too-distant future to give an update on the pump track status, including the construction and financial situation with respect to the project.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll have a second. Councillor MacDonald, any discussion? I will call this motion to, Councillor
That's
Earl?
fine.
Oh, okay. Call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next is 9.4. We have report number 24-114 from the General Manager of Community Services regarding the playground review, safety audit, and future considerations. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-114 from the General Manager of Community Services regarding playground review, safety audit, and the future considerations be received. Further, that Council authorize staff to bring forward playground replacement and rejuvenation program operational and capital requests for future consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Discussion. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to thank staff for the report. This is the kind of stuff that, as a decision maker, the kind of information I always appreciate. There's a couple playgrounds in there from the 70s that I was a little surprised on. That predates my time. But I think it's great to have this so we can, at the last meeting, we got our tangible capital asset management, some work done on that. And this feeds into that. And this feeds into how we make sure we are properly allocating resources and staff to ensure that we can provide services moving forward and keep these amenities functioning and safe and desirable for the community. One other note, the map provided, it always amazes me the amount of park space we have in Dawson Creek to manage. It's pretty... when you lay it out like this, you realize just what a large challenge it is. So as this season comes to a close, I guess just kudos to the staff who does maintain that, because that's one thing that I stopped and took a moment to reflect on. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Earl. Yeah, I agree. It's a great report, and just it's nice how it lays everything out, and you can really see, especially that asset management, just see where we're at, and yeah. And just even talking with Ryan about it on, the radiuses and stuff, it's there's a lot more that goes into it than a person thinks, so it's great to see this. So, any other discussion? No? All right. I will call this motion to vote. Just waiting for somebody to vote. Has everybody voted? Voted. The vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor MacDonald keeps a close eye on that. All right, next, 9.5, we have report number 24-116 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2025 budget assumption. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-116 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2025 budget assumptions report be received for discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald. I'll call that to...
you can go ahead and do that, and then,
then
you
we'll
can
discuss it. Yeah. Call that to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Go ahead, Kevin.
So through your worship, Melissa has some stuff that she can walk through, just to give you an overview and then lead you into your discussion.
Okay, perfect. Morning, Melissa.
Morning. So through your worship, so we are at the start of the 2025 budget cycle, and this starts with the budget assumptions report that's in front of you today. This process begins by looking at the 2025 amounts that council approved within the 2024-2025 financial plan, and that would have been back in May. Senior managers are currently finalizing budget submissions and taking into considerations any new information that has arisen since the April-May time period. So as an example, the budget figures today presented do not include the one-year trial of the sports field, because that was a decision that was made subsequent to that approval of the 5-year financial plan. Page 3 of the report details the planned 5.5% tax increase, as well as the estimated 2% increase in assessment, and that is an estimate at this time. If that 2% increase in assessment does not turn out to come to fruition, the tax increase would need to be 7.64% to generate the same municipal tax revenue as the 5.5% increase and the 2% increase in assessment. The next big driver in the budget process is the preview roll, and that's mentioned on page 4 of your report. That preview roll is received in early November, and this will give us more concrete assessment on which to base our draft 1 budget report on. If we go to page 5, there is the revenue summary. I wanted to highlight that the variance in the capital revenue that we're seeing of the 11.4 million, it's as a result of the 6.95 that was transferred in from capital reserves in 2024, and that was mainly due to funding the paving because we didn't borrow, as well as 4.38 million that's budgeted for capital grants. And so I expect that we'll see some more of those come into the budget, but those are usually those A and B cap funding grants that we include pending approval. And you'll notice as well that this budget for 2025, if we look at the borrowing, we do see the revenue coming in here. And so this budget does include the assumption that the 5 million will be borrowed to support the 2025 capital paving program. That decision will come in November to council to confirm that intent. If we go to page 6 of the report, this budget presented does achieve the PRA goal for 2025. It'd be at a current percent with 60% to operating and 60% to capital and 40% to operating. On page 7, it details that all fees and charges have been budgeted to increase by 2% in alignment with the CPI policy. Additionally, 2024 is the end of the 4-year cycle, and a report will be coming by myself to assess the CPI variance over the last 4 years, which is in alignment with the policy. You'll also notice on page 7 that water is projected to have a high surplus, primarily as a result of increased water sales on the operating side. And as was recommended in the asset management plan, we plan to transfer that surplus towards the capital side to help support the capital needs there. Page 9 details the breakdown of various areas of the budget that are offset by revenue streams. The arenas, public library, and swimming pool do have a marked asterisk beside them, and I apologize for not including the details, but that just means that this is where the $1 million sub-regional rec grant is split between those 4 facilities. On page 11, we provide the breakdown of the expenditures per category, and when we look at the percents, it is fairly consistent to prior years. So no surprises there. Additional unknowns that still need to be incorporated in the 2025 budget include confirmed union contract increases. An estimate has been included, but it's just an estimate at this point. The 1-year trial of the sports field, funding of the asset management plan, The recommendation we received last month was that it would require an additional 1% increase above the planned 5.5% to reach our goal, and so that has not been included. Determination of the Growing Communities Fund. This fund needs to be spent by 2028, and so that has been deferred to a budget decision. Additional RCMP support was also forwarded to budget discussion, and any funding for the strategic plan will also be considered by senior staff. It should be noted that for each additional $105,000 needed really in expenses we're seeing, it's going to require an additional 0.5% of a tax increase. And so I wanted that figure to be known because it does help to put those decisions that you're faced with in context. And then on page 14, you'll see, I just wanted to highlight, you'll notice 2025 is the last year of the additional investment towards paving. So this is the summary of the report, and it's really, today's report is an opportunity for council to kind of let us know if there's variations that you're liking to see as we're entering the 2025 budget cycle. But also an opportunity for me to let you know is that we are trying to put the decisions that have been made and stick to the 5.5 increase, but so far that is proving difficult.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Melissa, and thank you to yourself and your team for putting this together. It was, there's a lot of information in it, but it's pretty easy, well laid out and easy to understand, so thank you for that. So, I have quite a few questions, but I'll open it up to council first, and then anything that's not brought up, I will go after, so, or I'll comment on. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. More question through you to CEO Henderson. The paving and the 1.5 DC need to continue that for another 4 years to help us to continue to catch up? Or do you feel we're at a place now that we can just move forward with a normal paving program?
So through your worship, the two questions, the paving levy as well as the borrowing? Is that
Yeah, both, yeah.
So the paving levy, we should continue. That levy goes towards helping kind of extend the life of some of the roads we're not getting to quick enough.
Right.
That has been helpful to do some of those large patching projects, which buys us time. So I think that's an important piece. The borrowing, I guess the short answer is we're still got a long ways to go on roads, without a doubt. We're behind. It's going to take time to catch up. We need to determine whether we want to continue to do the $5 million a year, or, as I said earlier, the challenges we see is the dollar doesn't go as far. We're losing buying power all the time with this, and so I think if you were to talk to my capital project manager, yeah, they'd like to see continued investment in those roads, and what that does is we typically at the same time we're investing in the underground utilities, so it's more bang for the buck. We really can't do more than we're doing as far as the capacity either in-house or in the contracting community doesn't appear to be there to, with our window of weather opportunities. So we can't do more. Should we continue to do it? Probably. What does that look like? Do we want to keep borrowing? That's a tough one too. But purely from an infrastructure standpoint, yes, we could continue to do more work.
Okay. Wonderful report. Great report. We heard previous this year that we were losing $500,000 in funding from our BC Hydro grant. What measures did you take to make up for that loss of revenue?
So through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, that is part of the reason if our track or our planned increases before we were looking at the 2024-25 financial plan were for 4.5%, and that's what it was in the previous year. That was needed to increase to 5.5%. So that would have helped as well. And other than just looking at various revenue and expenses, it's all, everything moves, right? But the reduction in the BC Hydro grant is included in with the planned increase of 5.5% and the 2% increase in assessment.
The hopeful 2% increase.
Correct.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to be clear and laid out that if that 2% increase in assessment isn't realized, we would be looking at a required increase of 7.64%.
And that doesn't include the 1% need for asset management.
Correct.
So that would have us up to 8.6.
0.4.
Correct.
8.64, yeah.
And through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, I also did want to point out as well that when the paving levy did come in, it wasn't, I know there was a backlog of paving, but it also was at a time when local area service agreements went away. And so instead of, charging a house because their street was getting paved, that came in replace of that. So those two kind of switched.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Other comments? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And yeah, just thank you for the report. This is very well laid out. It's, I'm of two minds, obviously. The trajectory we're on to meet the 2030 goal with respect to the split in the PRA to capital is good. On the other hand, the impending and continued increases in taxes is not something that is going to be welcome, not something anybody likes to see. Certainly, I'd argue for those in the public expressing aversion to this, that we are still somewhat playing catch up on some needed investments that, not to say there weren't investments made, but investments made to maybe the neglect of some others, and trying to now find a balance between maintaining what was built and ensuring that things that got kind of put on the back burner are brought up to a standard we expect. But it's challenging because we also talk to people of limited means on fixed incomes who, for them to absorb this it's significant. Right, and I don't ever want to lose sight of that. Whether it's businesses, whether it's seniors, whether it's young families, these are real dollars for them. And certainly, we've, as a council, have tried to be responsible with that, but we also have emergent needs, and we also have things that the community says they want, and none of those things are free. So I think this report reflects that. Yes, we can deliver on what people want, but there is a cost to that. And I think it's important we continue to have an honest and transparent conversation with people about what the trade-offs are. One last note, I guess, with respect to the borrowing. I'm apprehensive about that. Initially, I supported the 4-year plan, and I think investing that much over 4 years was a good way to kind of juice the paving program and get us on a path to catching up. I do, where interest rates have gone, where inflation's gone over the last 2 years, I am apprehensive about taking on more debt needlessly. Certainly, you look at the difference between $1.3 million a year in interest paid to service debt versus a couple $1 million in interest realized on capital savings with reserves. And over the long term, I think a disciplined approach where we avoid debt and the servicing costs that come along with them, and the obligation to, if we have a bad year, if we have an emergent situation that upends our finances, it's a lot easier to deal with that from a position of financial strength if we're using reserves as opposed to borrowing, emergency borrowing, and if we have the liability that comes along with having to service that debt. So I guess just a couple thoughts from me. I'm not sure where that would leave us with respect to the final $5 million. I mean, yes, interest rates are coming down, but there's no guarantee by the time we actually make the decision to borrow it and we get around to borrowing, we don't know what the interest rate's going to be, and that's been kind of an unwelcome bit of knowledge for me is you make these commitments and then lo and behold, it costs more to borrow than you would have thought. But Kevin's point, inflation works the same way and your money doesn't get you as much. So does delaying it for a couple of years actually buy you anything? I'm not sure. I could keep going, but I'll turn it over to my colleagues for their thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other discussion? No. I have a bit of a list, so if you guys are good, I'll go through it. So, sorry. I'll apologize. Yeah, I just once again want to reiterate just to thank you for putting this together. And I'll just kind of start at the beginning of my notes, but yeah, like page 3, just so CPI is a 2% increase. So when we're talking about a 5.5% increase, I know that's part of the policy in the 5-year plan, but we could assume 2% would be CPI. It was out, it's set for this year's 2%.
So I'll let Melissa just comment on the CPI, but one thing that I was going to mention that for council too is, so last year council held us at held the increase at 4.5, which I think was great, but that was at a time when CPI was much higher and many other communities were at 7 or 10%.
Yeah.
So we did a great job, but that means we've now have to absorb some of that this year too, right? So that's part of our challenge.
Okay.
What do you got?
So through your worship, so the CPI policy is set that every year it's 2% automatically. And then there's language that says that if the British Columbia CPI index is above the accumulated 4-year increase, all contracts, agreements, or other fees will be adjusted to reach the 4-year BCI CPI rate. So what that means is it's been 2% for 21, 22, 23, and 24. And what has CPI actually been for those years? Okay. And then if it's over the 2% than what we've charged per year, there needs to be a catch-up heading into 2025. And so that report is drafted, and I'm hoping to bring this to the next council meeting. It just is waiting on the September CPI announcement, which I'm hoping will come in time to meet the next meeting, but could be a meeting after that. But okay. So that's built. So in this draft budget assumption, or in the budget assumptions report, it just has that 2%. So then I'm hoping time-wise, we'll be able to have direction with the report that's coming next, and then there could be an adjustment in the draft 1 budget.
Okay, thank you.
To the fees and charges.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I look at these, so I understand where we're at and why we're, doing these increases. And I believe we have to do some catch up and we have to get ahead of the game. But I also, at the same breath, one, the pressure this puts on our residents in times that are tough. But more, I look at like the commercial or industrial, the variable tax rate. And that's one, like we don't have a strong industrial base in Dawson Creek as per like our neighboring communities. So to up that one, like you drive through our industrial parks and we're probably like 60 to 70% full. Like I have a fear if we add more pressure to those that it could impact us in a negative way. And out of all the comments I do hear on tax increases, I hear it more from those folks than I do from anybody else, and just comparable to our neighboring communities. So, I don't. Yeah, it's tough, right? And I know last year we looked at what the residential difference was to commercial and what an increase meant, but it's just one that we need to look at I believe, because we're hearing it and there's some pressure. And I believe, depending where this next month goes provincially, there could be some more pressures on that as well. So, so that was one. Assessments, I'd hate to see them go down, but I think there's been a current shop that's been sold in our industrial area for significantly less than assessed value. So I think we need to be prepared that assessments are going to go down. We've heard over and over that the assessments are, high, and its cost to build is so high right now. But I feel that we're going to get some pressure there, that they are going to come down a little bit. And this one that I know that sold it was 40% below assessed value. So we're going to get some pressure on that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Page 5, just on the total debt, or on the planning to borrow. Do you have the number of what our total debt is to the city? I didn't see that in here, or if it was in here, I missed it, but.
So through your worship, the debt as of the end of, I'll just say as of 2024 was 18 million.
Okay. Thank you. I guess, sorry, I did just to jump back a little bit just on the increase. So I know we talked last year about our operating carryover, and it gets put into reserves, and we talked about potentially capping that and having the rest of the operating go to offset. So where did that end up? Did that come back to council? And if so, where?
So through your worship, that's on my work plan, and it kind of was all surrounded as well with the asset management plan. And so now that we've got that presented, what I see as part of that is the development of a surplus policy and a surplus plan and funding the asset management plan. But it is in, our future plans.
So do you envision that coming forward as, obviously we got a lot on our plate with asset management, but do you see a portion of that carryover maybe going to offset a little bit of the increase annually to the community? Or do you see most of it having to go to the asset management plan?
Well, I mean, a first step would also be is why are we having the surpluses? And I think it's pressure on us on the staff side to make sure we're budgeting accordingly. Because if we're budgeting and we're not spending that, then we're basically causing an increase that maybe isn't needed. So I think that's a first step. And I guess it's however council wants to structure it. Because if you're just using, you can have that once you reach your surplus target, any excess at the end of the year does get transferred. You can fund it that way. And then it just makes potentially your increase could be less. I think it's wherever you have the money coming from. But both are options. But if you want to look at accumulated surplus to reduce the increases, I mean, that's a short-term option for sure.
Well, I think it just might help in the near future, but I know that you obviously have to look at the budgets and see why we're having those, but you do have areas like where it would be, the victim services or like RCMP, where if they do, we have to budget fully, and if they are short one member, you have that carryover. So to have that carryover going to asset management versus maybe, on these years where we're having a high increase in taxes, that maybe it offsets it a little bit. So Page 9, I appreciate you bringing up to the PRA funding on those 3 assets. One, I wanted to point out there is the fire department. So what portion of that, so the total expenditures, there's obviously some grants and other revenues and fees and charges in there, but does that include the portion of funding we get from the fire protection area in the regional district? And which number of those 2 is that refers to that?
Through your worship, sorry, I'm just trying to find that. So the amount from the RD, the PRRD, is the 394,871.
Okay, thank you. And then one other one on there, the swimming pool. So it's, does that include the event center? That's inclusive of the whole building, or that's just the swimming pool? Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll just, what are we here? Ones that I was just, while I was going through this, I didn't, need an answer on any of them, but just 2 that are, 2 bigger expenditures. One is the airport and one is BC Transit, which is tough. I was just looking through that. Like, they're both significant charges. The airport is, it's significant, right? And it clearly is a regional airport, utilized regionally, mostly for medevacs, but it's also, getting a very big private following right now, and we're seeing some success out there. But it's just a high, expenditure to just be bared by the city taxpayers, considering how regional it truly is. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Page 11, Melissa, under your expenditures, so the total 44 million, I just wanted to touch on the repairs and maintenance. So in 2023 it was 1.4 million, the actual is 1.2 million. And then in 2024 it's a pretty big increase, 1.9 million. So one, where are we at to date on that? Is it going to be below what 2023 is? I mean, it's not the end of the year yet, but if you had some idea on that. And then just 2025 to, almost 1.7 million. Are all could some of those in those areas, I'm assuming you've probably already done this work, but be moved to capital expenditures, or is this clearly just repair and maintenance on our infrastructure, on our buildings?
Every project that comes, across finance's desk, we do assess whether it meets the capital test. And so I do know there was some items that were budgeted for 2024 related to some work on with the arenas, and I believe it was work on the pumps maybe, and then we had some work on I think some other items that we really assessed, and we do take a look. And there has been times in the past where the auditors have moved projects from capital to operating because they don't meet the test. So we do look at each of those.
Okay.
But whenever there's the opportunity to be funded by capital, we certainly want to explore those.
Yeah.
But yeah, the increases you're seeing are really one-time projects that come up that we're faced with.
Do you know in the current year if we're going to be close to that 1.9 million? Does it look like all those projects are on pace? Sorry to keep asking so many. Oh.
I personally wouldn't be able to comment on to the planned increases that were put in people's budgets to accommodate. I know some of it was HVAC work that's getting done, and then DDC work. Oh no, that was good. But there's some work that was put in for the GAC media replacement, and timing-wise, I'm not sure if that's going to get done.
Yeah, through your worship, these are multiple line items, like this isn't just
Yeah.
one item, so it's throughout the budget where you have the repairs and maintenance, and so we'll have to, that's part of the process we're gonna go through as we budget, and as Melissa indicated, is we need to ensure that we're not over budgeting, but we also have to ensure that we have a budget that doesn't run a deficit and those aspects. From a maintenance standpoint, we've talked about this a lot, is that we are going to need to continue to increase our spending on maintenance because we can't afford to rebuild things just at the cost of this. So that will be a cost pressure into the future for us for sure.
But things like, we're just putting this out there, but say, for example, like the pool, like we're regrouting that to protect that asset. Will that fall under repair and maintenance, or would that fall under capital repairs?
Yeah, I believe that was a capital project. So, yeah, like Melissa said, anytime we can capitalize it, we do. It's just whether we get, meets the test or not. And so sometimes, we have some large expenditures, like I'll use the GAC, where GAC is granular activated carbon or charcoal for the water treatment plant. It's $300,000 or $400,000 in a year that we have to do it, and we maybe have to do it every 3 to 5 years. So it's all of a sudden it's a large one-time expense, but it's not capital. So that it hits that operational line, and so those impacts.
So on one like that, that's just in my mind. If it's every 3 or 4 years, do we budget like $100,000 a year for it then and put it away just so it's? Or is it every 4 years, we just add it to the budget knowing it's going to be that?
We're trying to anticipate and put some of those in there.
Okay. Next, page 12. I know you did mention this when you gave your update just on the Ovinto Event Center and Memorial Arena about the sports flooring. So you said that'll be included in draft 1 budget?
Through your worship, correct. That was not included in the budget as it's presented today. It'll come within draft 1. And I mean, anytime you add a facility, it usually, we've seen on when we look at page 9 of the report, usually a facility comes with a subsidy. And so that has not included.
So we could assume that this 5.5 is going to be higher, considering just based on that one area, depending on that cost?
I would think that's a fair assumption.
Thank you. I did, page 13. So we put forward a motion on the report for additional RCMP members. So at 257,000, we're talking a 1.5% increase per officer, basically.
Portion of that's only 180.
Oh yeah, budget expense 180. So 180. So to make up 180 is about 1%.
Through your worship, correct. A little bit less, but because 1% would be 210.
Yeah.
So a little bit less.
Okay. So because this is in, just so for my clarity, like this is in here because we directed, obviously, the team to put this in here. So in this overall budget assumption, is it including adding 2 RCMP officers? Like, so in the 5.5, that's already been additioned, or these are additional if we chose to go that way?
So through your worship, the current budget that's in front of you includes the 25 members.
Okay.
So no additional members have been put in. But if that's a direction by council, now would be the time to let us know, and we can come back with what that position includes in draft one.
Yeah, through your worship, that's why we've included these. They were referred to budget. Because often when things come forward to council, it's easy, we'll just refer it to budget, which is good because then you get to see the gravity of the implications of it. And so that's why they're in front of you. And it's early, but I think it's important to get some direction from council of where we may want to go on some of these. And again, if you say today, well, we'd like to include the 2 members of the RCMP, the addition of it, that's not saying it's guaranteed. It's saying we're going to put it into draft 1 and shake it all out and see what it looks like. It helps us on our side because we have some decisions to make as we go through our budgetary process as well, and we need to understand where things are. Because if I go back to my staff and say, okay, I need you to cut here, here, and here, and then we come back to draft 1, and then we say, okay, now we're going to add RCMP and we're going to add, and I got to go through it. Not that it doesn't happen, but it's going to be easier to do it, to know as much as we can early to make those decisions.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So with that being said, I would like to see those come to the draft budget, adding them. I know just dealing with the staff sergeant and talking to them, so I'd like to at least see it to know what that means. I'd also, going back one to the Growing Communities Fund, I'd also like to see that brought to draft 1 too, just to get an idea of what that means. And I get adding things, and at the same time, I'm not happy with the 5.5 or those increases either. So I just think if we can in draft 1 get a bigger picture of how that looks, yeah. That was actually all I had for now, so I see it's popped a few more comments up, so Councillor MacDonald?
No, thank you, Your Worship. In regards to the Growing Community Fund and the idea of a splash park, can you refresh our memory on what the estimated operating cost would be for a splash park?
I think it's, one second, I think it's in the report here. I'm just going to see if I can find it quickly for you. I believe it was, my memory is it's 125,000 a year. I have to get you the exact number, but that operational cost would not be in the next 2 years because you have to build it before you operate it. So that cost would be, you would not see that cost until when it's completed.
2026 or 2027.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
I just want to throw this out there. We're talking about increase over increase to our operating budget in regards to asset management, policing services, possible asset increases, right? That BC assessment increases, that quite literally won't come to fruition. I think we need to take a hard look at the idea of a splash park and what it's really going to mean to us long term. I think there may be other investments we could make with that money that might service us in a much better way, whether it be playgrounds, whether it be the sports flooring. We know we need to make investments into the Kin Arena to be able to achieve that as well. I'd love to see this community have a splash park, but I don't know if we can be fiscally responsible enough. I believe for us to be fiscally responsible as a council, there's enough increases coming. Like the mayor said, everybody's pants are getting tighter and tighter. The budget has to get tighter and tighter. That's another 0.5% increase that we're going to put on people. Another. I think we really have to think about that. We're talking about water security in the community as well. I fear if we put in a splash park and then we go trying to ask money for water security investment, they're going to look at us and go, how's your water not secure if you can afford to be wasteful with water with a splash park? Just thoughts about that splash park and whether or not that is our best path forward responsibly. Like, again, I'd love to see us have a splash park in this community, but I don't know that now's the time that we can afford it.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple questions through you to staff. Building off your point about the surpluses and capping it and that concept. So our operational reserve currently sits at what as far as a balance?
So through your worship, while Melissa's digging that up, just, you know, the fact that we've built our reserves over the last number of years have given us some great flexibility. As you saw earlier in the meeting, we were able to come forward with a project that the numbers had come in higher. We've done that a few times this year, and we've had the luxury of having money within the reserves that we could pull out and do that. You know, 8 years ago,
I know
we weren't there.
I was there,
and yeah, exactly. Some of you were there, and you saw that, and so anytime that we talk about trying to offset today's costs with yesterday's money, starts. Yeah. We have to be careful because we could get back to where we were, and that's not a comfortable spot.
I'm not interested in exploring the option of rating existing reserves for that. But the mayor does make a point in looking at the expenses. We budget just over $43 million for operating expenses. It comes in at $40.5 million. So there's a $2.6 million difference there, which go into operating expenses at a certain point. And if I recall, one of Melissa's predecessors mentioned that for an operating reserve, you're kind of looking at having somewhere between 6 months and 1 year of operations in reserve to float the city in the event of a catastrophe of some sort. And then presumably once we reach that, a policy would then roll any excess needed into either a capital reserve, and I think what the mayor was suggesting is that there be some sort of cap on that. So if we're, coming in excess of 8% below budget on a yearly basis, and we go back to the taxpayers with a 5.5% increase, it's fairly hard to justify that to them paying attention, say, well, why are my taxes going up if you guys are coming in 8% below budget, even though we know there's a need for those capital reserves. So in capping that and saying on any given year, if, budget comes in, because in thinking way back to when I first started here, we explored the option of, because we were constantly running on average 2 or 3 RCMP officers below allocation, and that money, which was at the time about $450,000, was essentially just being rolled over into operational reserves every year as forced savings. And we were looking at doing some pretty dramatic cuts to get things back in order. We figured if we were to remove those two or three position allocations, instead of that rolling over into savings, that would defer some of the tax increase that was required to get us back to where we needed to be. We ultimately didn't do that. But it still stands that, for the public, having the what they'd consider a pretty sizable surplus and tax increases at the same time is very difficult for the average person to rationalize. But to your point, I do remember when I first started, and the thing that sticks in my mind, I think there was like a grant for about $300,000 that for capital. And at the time, we couldn't actually afford to apply for the grant because we didn't have enough in reserves. If the grant was given, we couldn't actually fund our part of the capital project to take advantage of that grant. So it was one of those things where we just kind of had to stand there and watch the pitch sail by. And over the long term, that's at an increased cost to the municipality because we're not able to we don't have the resilience and the stability to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. So, so just something as the mayor's point about, do you cap a surplus and then use anything above and beyond, say, I guess 2% needing to go into operational reserves to account for the increase in costs to operate the municipality on a given year, and then, an additional whatever into capital reserves, and then anything above and beyond that can offset any required tax increases in the following year. Is that kind of what you had in mind when you were talking your way through it?
I think it's amazing that we're thinking ahead into the future and we're putting reserves away. Like, that's, amazing to be able to do that. But, if there was a formula where a percentage of that offset some of the burden we're putting annually onto our residents, like, it's kind of a win-win for both, is really what I was. I don't want to take away from putting reserves away because that's critical.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in rating reserves to ease my own, to make it more politically expedient for me to pass a budget. But in once again, how do we rationalize it to the public, who ultimately every 4 years they're going to get a say on how they think we're running things, and to stand up and say, yeah, we came in on average 7 or 8% below what we budgeted for 4 years consecutively, but that was accompanied by a 4.5% tax increase every year. They're, understandably going to have a hard time reconciling those two things. So, just a thought to build off what the mayor said.
Thanks, Councillor Earl.
So through your worship to Councillor Earl, our as of December 31st, 2023, our operating surplus was 39 million, but 9.5 of that was restricted to the water and sewer operating fund.
Thank you.
And I think I see that, the discussion we're having on saving for reserves and potentially using savings to help offset. We just need to be aware of, as we use that cycle and you're using previous year savings to fund a current year to potentially offset an increase, and you're maybe doing that, and then you get to a point where you can't, then the increase you could be facing, you're going to need to jump quite a bit. So just so there's risk in that as well. But I do agree. We need to budget appropriately and try to spend the money. But alternatively, if we add 2 members for the RCMP, we would be looking at 27, and we've had a history of 21. And so they may grant our request and we may get 2 more and maybe not. And it could be in the queue for 27 and we don't get those 2 for, but that's just one area where we have that vacancy factor, which you're right, council didn't approve, budgeting for that. But there's other areas as well.
I think too, just refresh my memory just on the RCMP. I don't think we could actually, if we did want to see 2 in the draft budget, I think it has to come next year. I think it's March or May, I believe, that report needs to be submitted. And then if we get approval for that, then it can go into the following year. So we're already too late on it, but because if we approved it now, we wouldn't get that in 2025. It would be for the 2026 year. We have to remember, we were talking with Staff Sergeant Hughes about that. We had to, I think it was spring sometime. So if that's a direction council would want to go, we have to put that request in next spring for the 2026 budget year. But yeah. I just brought up one more thing, Kevin, that I forgot to ask, but I know a few council meetings ago under Committee of the Whole, you brought up just the water security for the community and maybe looking at different alternatives. Has that been budgeted in 2025? So is there, do you see any costs?
Yeah, so through your worship, we'll be putting some money within the budget, hopefully in the capital budget, for some preliminary conceptual investigation work on what that might look like.
So it's included in here in the broad number, just not broken out yet because we don't know.
Or it won't be in here, but it will be, but again, I've talked to Devin about it, we'll be including, I don't think he's put it into the capital stuff as of yet, so.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, did you want to add something to?
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor MacDonald. So as per your question about the operational cost of the splash park, so it's based on Design 3. It was approximately $120,000 a year, or $11.13 a year in tax increase, based on an average house price or assessment of $284,030.
And it should be noted that that's a recycling system.
Yeah, so it's
the water usage is down, but your operating expense is up, theoretically. If it was a flow-through system, we wouldn't have, the filtration and all those things, but we'd be wasting water. So
correct.
it's kind of a lesser of two evils.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Questions? All right, I'm going to move on unless you, Melissa or Kevin, did you have any clarification that you needed on any of this?
Through your worship, I don't think so. I think great discussion, and this is probably the most discussion we've had this early in the process, so I do appreciate it because it helps us as senior staff take that away and do what we need to do, so I do appreciate that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And thanks again to you and the team for putting this together, so thank you. All right, next on the agenda, how's everybody doing? Do you need a break or do you guys want to keep going? Going. Councillor Kemp, did you, okay, sorry, thought you nodded. 9.6, report number 24-117 from the General Manager of Operations regarding RFQ 2024-32 electrical and instrumentation services, water and environmental. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report 24-117 from the General Manager of Operations regarding RFQ 2024-32 electrical and instrumentation services, water and environmental be received. Further, that Council award the request for quotations 2024-32 electrical and instrumentation services, water and environmental to Kano Electric Limited for a 3-year term commencing October 7th, 2024, with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms.
Thank you, Councillor Sudnick. Do I have a second? Yeah. Councillor Kemp, any discussion? I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, 10 bylaws. 10.1, we have report number 24-115 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaws numbers 4590, 4591, and 4592, 2024. So there's 3 separate recommendations. We'll start with the first one, which we can all sit in. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-115 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4590, 4591, and 4592, 2024 be received. Further, that 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4590, 2024 be given first 3 readings.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Any discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Second one, Councillor Earl just has a conflict, so he's just leaving. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that the 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4591, 2024, to provide the South Peace Child Development Society with a 100% permissive tax exemption for 2025 be given first 3 readings.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick, any discussion? I will call this to vote.
Councillor Sudnick, or Earl, pull his card.
Yeah. Oh, it just went away. Was it carried? Okay, I'm just going to call that vote again. Vote is closed, and it's carried. The next one, just myself and Councillor MacDonald have conflicts, so we'll just wait for Councillor Earl to come back in, and then...
It's, yeah.
Oh, now try it.
There. Want to make that motion? Councillor Sudnick? I can turn him on.
Sure.
Oh. Okay. Oh, here we go. Now let me. Yeah, let me now. We can vote now.
We can vote now?
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, next order of business was 11 mayor's business, so mayor's updates. So, first one, Choral O&M celebration. So I got to attend that. That seems like it was a long time ago, but I think it, Gibbon, who's the president, invited myself there in council. There was a few that attended. So just an amazing event, really, and just to showcase really where our community is, and just to be part of their celebration and the Choral's their history, and to bring that to their new community. It's pretty amazing to experience. There was well over 100 attended. I would say it was probably close to 150. They did a big tug of war out in the parking lot or on the street, which was a new this year, which I had to leave before then, so I didn't get to be part of that. But yeah, just it was a great celebration, and I always find it really educational for myself to just learn of other cultures and just to really celebrate what is important to them. So it was great. The art gallery opening reception is actually on the same day, so I got to go attend that. Again, such an amazing facility for our community. I think there was maybe 4 or 5 artists from the Peace region that were showcased. I believe it's monthly they were showcased, but they had their artwork set up. It was a really good turnout. I don't know the number, but it was a full in there up the walkway as well. So just great to be there. The first one that I've got to be part of, actually, and you get to hear the artists at the beginning. They go up and speak about their art and what the Peace Country means to them, and really British Columbia and Canada. So it was great. Rotary Luncheon, I've been there a lot lately, but this one I was there for the city project updates. So yeah, I just probably something that I've talked to them maybe going quarterly just to give updates on different areas that we're working on. So this one was an update just on our city projects budget really for 2024, all the projects that we've done. And so yeah, it was great. Lots of good feedback from Rotary. And it's just another opportunity to bridge that communication gap between us and educate what we're doing and listen, really. And to thank you to our communications mastermind sitting over there on putting the notes together for me, because it definitely helps a lot going to these. And also thanks to Kevin, yourself, and the team for, that when you go through the list, you actually appreciate what's been done this year. And I know I've mentioned this in previous meetings, but the amount of positive I've been hearing lately, just how good the city's looking and all these projects that have been done, it is really, it's amazing, and it's not going unnoticed. So thank you. Seniors Roundtable, continue to do that one. It's actually just been over a year. We celebrated a year. I think it was in August or potentially July, but a year since it's been started, and it's really great. But and when I do these roundtables, it's just an opportunity a little bit for myself to share what council is working on, what the city's working on. But majority of the roundtable is really just to listen. And so the previous one, there was just a lot of comments around the new hospital, and it's going to have this. So we invited Northern Health, so Ashley Pinoza and her team came, and it was great. She went through the whole project with that roundtable, answered any questions. It was really good. So just a thank you to those individuals that come to the roundtable, but also to Northern Health for to be willing to come. So. Northeast Region project working group meeting. So there's a pilot project that was put forward that we gave a letter of support for. So this is just a project for the immigration. So the project status is open, and they're just waiting to hear back. So they've started a regional working group. So there was individuals on there from all over the Northeast region, really, from every municipality and district, and mostly at staff level. I was the only politician on there. So they want me on there just a little bit to help until it goes through, or to see where it's at, and if there's any area that we can help from this side of the table, then we'll know at that point. So. But that was the first one I attended. It was really good to see, and everybody is on board and on the same page, so it was good. Next, Physician and Recruitment Retention meeting. Councillor Sudnick and myself had attended another meeting, which would have been a few weeks ago. Another great meeting. There's I've mentioned this before. What I like most about this committee is that the doctors actually sit on it, so we get to hear firsthand from them what's working, what's not working. This meeting was nice because we heard in a previous one just about education in the community. So we invited the school district 59. So Paul and Christy attended this one, and they are now on the committee. So it's just it was great for the doctors to be there, ask questions, and really for us to work jointly together. So there's been a lot of good that's come out of it so far, and that's not from myself or Councillor Sudnick's opinion. That's just from what we're hearing from the doctors. They're seeing things move, and really we're not magically doing anything besides listening. So thank you, Councillor Sudnick, for that too. The other part of that is I attended Rotary twice last week with members of this committee. So Charlie, Cheryl, and Tracy that sit on this committee. They represent South Peace Health, the Division of Family Practice, and the doctors at Northern Health. So we went and attended Rotary to discuss like a buddy system for doctors. So as doctors are coming into this community, kind of like a welcoming package, but more where, if there's a doctor coming that has, 2 kids that are 13 and 15 years old, we can reach out to somebody that could work with that doctor in their transition into our community. So say in that scenario, like, maybe Councillor MacDonald and his family would take that doctor on as a friend because he's got children similar ages where he could answer questions and help. So we approached Rotary about that and seeing if there would be like a potential partnership with this organization. And to speak about that, Dr. Eckner, who is moving here in November 1st, I've had the opportunity the last 2 months to build that relationship with him in this role just through emails, and then also Tracy and Charlie and Cheryl have helped him as well with this committee. But it's just been a lot of little things. Like I've built a really good relationship with him through email, which I never, thought when I was younger that's how I'd be building relationships. But it's pretty amazing how much of a relationship you can build through technology. But he sent, and lots of the questions that he asks are just, simple ones like what, area of town, schools, daycares, what activities are there for his kids, how to get utilities set up. So that was one that I was able to help and go downstairs and be like, how do we get utilities transferred? So I was able to help him get those forms. It didn't take me a lot of time. But afterwards, there was numerous individuals helping. But he sent me an email last week and he said, it's unbelievable how much I feel at home already being in Dawson Creek and I'm not even there yet. So that's what it's about and how to create that, right? And that's our job of this committee is how we can help recruit, which is the first step. Second is once he gets here is the retention part, which that's where the community needs to come together. So, so it was really good, perceived well. It was nice to present to Rotary having the team there because I can't answer a lot of questions, so we definitely complimented each other, and it was perceived very well. So that was good. NDIT Advisory Committee meeting. I had one a couple weeks ago, and actually this one was hosted in Chetwynd. So I don't have a lot to bring up from the NDIT. We see those reports and what's approved, but we got to visit the Chetwynd Library, so I just wanted to mention that. What an amazing facility. And that whole area, I didn't realize, but the facility was amazing. There was, I think we counted, it was like 40 youth in there. We were there at, probably around noon. So between 11:30 and 12:30, but a great facility, a little cafeteria, a library, a seating area, but to see like 40 youth in there, like it was pretty impressive to see. But then I didn't realize the whole facility in behind there. So there's like a splash park. I know we were just talking splash park, but I was asking their counselor, and theirs is utilized a lot, she said. But there's like a splash park, a playground, a park. Like it was pretty neat to see, and I've never experienced that or seen behind there, and it's all behind the arena and the pool there. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Chetwynd. It's a great facility for the region. UBCM. I will give a bit of an update on all of what we did down there, but before I do that, I just want to thank Kevin and all of council for attending, and it truly is a team environment down there. Like we tackled every part of UBCM, and everybody contributed, going to the different seminars, minister meetings. There's absolutely no way you could do it without a team like this. So it definitely helped to be there to listen. So I just wanted to give a thank you to all of you for taking time away from your families and coming down, because it was, it's a busy 5 days, and long days. So thank you to all of you. So I was just going to give a brief update just for those in the public, and just more so on the ministries that we've met with. So we met with the Ministry of Education and Childcare, and these were ones just the city met with. So I met with some as a regional director, but I'm not going to touch on those. So Ministry of Education and Childcare, Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, Ministry of Forests, Ministry of Health, which that one was kind of combined with Northern Health. So we met with the CEO, Cherie, Ministry of Post-Secondary Education, Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship, and the Northern Health Authority. So I covered that one twice. But lots of great meetings and discussion, and definitely, as a group, we talked a lot about our, the concerns and the impacts to our region with all these ministries, and listened and sat in on everything. So thank you. Next, I had this was a huge honor to go sit in the King Charles III Coronation Medal presentation. So there, to Paul Javetkoff, who formerly has sat up here, but more so has done absolutely amazing things for our community. Recently would be the ski hill. Without his work and dedication up at that ski hill, we wouldn't have it today. And it was very clear in that presentation. The Oilman's was a big part of it as well, but Paul was a big part of the driving factor. So that was the first time I got to be part of the medal celebration. First time, obviously, that it was the King Charles medal as well, but there was probably about 30 or so there for the presentation, which that was about the max that it could have been because the room size. But it was just a real honor, and Paul, being the humble person he is, definitely it showed in that thing. So it just was great to be part of that, but also just a huge congratulations to Paul and Sharon and their family for receiving this, because it definitely is a family that has contributed to that, to the community. So thank you. International Day of Peace, that celebration, which was a couple Saturdays ago. I'm not even going to start naming dates, but just another great event, really. I know a few of us were there, which was nice, but it's nice when you attend these and you get to hear a little bit about the history and where they started, and to see like the founding members there that started it was pretty impressive. So the whole day. And then we had one of our team members on the other side of the wall, her daughter was there doing the opening prayer. So that's pretty amazing. I missed that because I was a few minutes late because I had something else. But regardless, it was just an amazing day, and great to see all those individuals that were there. There was some talk with Dale, part of the organization, about the sundial needing some painting. So they're going to, that organization is going to look into that for next year. And then they also brought up, and we noticed the trees. There was a couple of trees that were down, so we brought that up too as well to see if we can get that in our tree budget for the future. So thank you. Dawson Creek Elks. Sorry, just making sure I wasn't missing anything. And I guess just going back to the International Day of Peace, I just Councillor MacDonald and Councillor Kemp were there as well, but I just wanted to thank Councillor Kemp for speaking on the city's behalf at that one, so thank you. Next, the Dawson Creek Elks 80th anniversary celebration. I got to attend that as well, so 80th year, and a couple of things that I took from there that I felt were huge to share was the amount of time from that group that has given back to making our community a better community. There was one, Gloria Coons, 70-year pin she took there, and she's 99 years old. So be able to speak to her, and then there was 60 years and 50 years and 40 years. It just blew me away that these it didn't blow me away. It just showed what our community is about and how much people give back to our community. It was pretty special to be part of it, and just to be there and to really congratulate them on behalf of the city. It was pretty amazing. And their slogan is people helping people. That's what it's been for 80 years. And I was like, wow, we could learn from that in today's world. Because that's as simple as it is to me. Is what I try to do daily is it's just about helping people. It's just about how do we move forward. So yeah, it was a really good celebration. And just a lot of great people. And from all over the region, they had folks from the whole Peace Country, Grand Prairie, Spirit River, from all over that were attending it. So it was really neat to see. So next, HF Nodes Construction. They had their grand opening at their new facility just on the outskirts of town. So they had it while we were at UBCM. So I went out there the week we got back just to say hi, and Murray and Joe and his wife and Myrna were there. So it was amazing just to see the facility. But, that family and organization has given back a lot to our community. I can't remember how long. I think it's got to be 60 years, maybe longer actually, that they've been in business. But yeah, it was great to go in there, get a tour, an amazing facility. It's just a perfect fit for Nodes Construction. And even as simple as the colors of the building are their colors. So I noticed that right when I walked in. They're like, yeah, it was all meant to be. So I would encourage, council, if you have time to go out there and say hi, they would definitely appreciate it and welcome it. So if you do, but I just wanted to congratulate them again on their growth. Right? It's impressive. So. Another one, the ARC. I got to attend their 35 years. That was a few Fridays ago. I didn't know what was going on, but I just last minute found out, so I went up there, and there must have been 150 kids up there celebrating. But then I had the pleasure to run into John Vance Bronson, and I talked to him for quite a while in length just about the ARC, the history, his life. It is phenomenal that an individual or a family has given back something to that magnitude with zero expectation in return, except to give kids hope and a better, any chance of a better life. And when I get to see stuff like that, it inspires me to do what I'm doing today. It helps guide me every day when I feel a little bit lost, and with the pressures that I get to remember why I get to do this. And it really, truly is amazing. Yeah, it was just every aspect of it was just amazing to see in the whole community, every part of it. It was, I'll just tell a quick story how it relates to the city, but John was just saying, in all his time, he just was grateful for this council that we have right now. He said it really seems like everybody is about community and listening, and this is nothing about past councils, but he just says he's noticed it. And the other part is that he said he's noticed a change in the city team, that he's, seen just that it's people are having fun and appreciative, and he just noticed it, and that meant a lot coming from somebody that's been here their whole life. But he was one that commented about being downstairs paying his taxes, and how those ladies down there are just, they're fun. They're joking around with him, and just showing with all those pressures that our team faces that they still have time to take those moments for people. So there's just meaning to it. So just a thank you to the team here, but also a thank you to John and the whole organization. I know it's not just his family. There's a lot of people that contribute to the success of it. And 35 years, dated me back. They had the photo albums there, and I was looking for pictures because I went there as a teenager, and that would have been right when it started. So it was pretty neat to go back through those pictures and see some of friends and bring back memories. So community awards, that's coming up November 7th, Co-op Mercer Hall. There's as of the last update, which I believe was last week, where there's 129 tickets sold, which I think is fairly close to where we were last year. 200 is the max. I think we're close to full, but we're on pace to get there. But those that haven't got their tickets, I would suggest to get them sooner than later, because it'll be quick before it's full. And last year's was the first year going back to really a celebration of our community, and I can speak for all that attended. It was a pretty amazing evening, and for all of us, but also just to see our community together and see all those just amazing individuals that were there that contribute to our community. So that's coming up soon. And then last, just the Creekside Court grand opening was last week. So I know it's been opened a while, but this was the official grand opening. So I just want to give a quick shout out. We did a press release then and spoke then, but just a shout out to all that were involved, Lindbergh Construction for coming together to get it done, the Ravalli family for contributing to it, the community, the few previous councils that did up the Parks and Rec master plan that put it there. And yeah, so just a shout out to them. And I really want to give a shout out to the city team again, just because on this project I got to work fairly closely with some of the changes and the organizational groups that are using the facility, but they were just all extremely happy and blown away by how well the city listened to them about whether it was signage or garbage cans or ideas that would enhance the project. It was just very clear that we're open and we're listening. So thank you. All right, I feel like I just talked for 2 hours. So any questions on any of that? Councillor Earl? Try that again.
You forgot to mention the Municipal Insurance Association of British Columbia annual general meeting that took place at UBCM, and I was happy to attend on behalf of the city. It is, that's where the big movers and shakers end up, at UBCM, everybody. And I just wanted to highlight their important work. And thank you all.
I'm grateful you caught me. I didn't mean to miss that. I almost slid underneath the table, so sorry about that, Councillor Earl. Thank you for attending. Yeah. All right, so next, 11.2, we have the delegation request from the Dawson Creek Choral Society. I guess just before we get to that one, do we know where our grant budget, where we're at year to date, and how much room's left in that?
So through your worship, currently we're at about $6,200 remaining.
Remaining, okay, thank you. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Refresh my memory, is this the second time she's come in with this request?
No, she came in would have been May or June, and then we asked her to come back as a delegation to speak to us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the second, that's the reason why we've seen it twice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I guess before there's a motion, have we donated, I should ask this earlier, but have we donated to them in previous years? And sorry, that's kind of...
Through your worship, we don't have that in front of us.
Okay.
I know that they have come in the past, and my memory, I just can't remember if we did or we didn't right off the top.
Okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tab.
Through your worship, yes, there was a request in 2020 and it was denied. And there was low grant budget amounts according to the minutes when I looked back then, and they were focusing on local events.
Okay. All right, anybody like to motion? Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that we do the $1,000 patron grant for the Choral Society.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick, any discussion? Councillor MacDonald?
Great program. My 2 of my children, 3 of my children actually, participated in different choirs and the musical theater program. And I think it has great value. It brings more usage of KPAC, et cetera, et cetera. I think it hits a bunch of boxes. And I think Caitlyn's a wonderful member of this community with a lot of drive to bring this program back up to that 200 level participation.
I agree. Thank you very much. I'm just reading the $1,000 patron. It comes with 6 complimentary tickets. Should we donate those back to her to hand those back to families that are in need? Should we make that part of the motion, or is that?
Through your worship, if you would like to just donate the $1,000, generally speaking, then.
So we can maybe just change it to, we'll just donate $1,000 to use as a grant. Are you okay with that, Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see the need for us to receive all the other parts. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Everybody else is good with that? Yeah. Okay, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. We had, one other. So next under Mayor's business, we had the late items. So I'd like to make a motion that council authorize the chattels included in the purchase of the building at 111th Avenue, the Elgin Medical Clinic, to be donated to the incoming not-for-profit society for the operation of a medical clinic in that building. A seconder, Councillor Sudnick, then I'll speak to it. When we purchased that building, part of the negotiations was we purchased on the price of the building. The equipment that was in there came with the building. It wasn't included in our appraised value, none of that. So it was kind of just included in that with the intent that it would be used for the new purpose of this. So the reason why we want to do this is we don't want to be responsible for that equipment. One, we will then need to be responsible to maintain it, where it goes, inventory it. It'll be a operational cost to us. And to this nonprofit society that is formed, they'll be able to use it and it'll benefit our community, but they also know where it needs to go and it's what they deal with every day. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring this forward. So, any questions? No? All right. I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. All right, next. You guys just want to, we might as well keep going, huh? Yeah. A few more things. 12 Chief Administrative Officer operational updates. Kevin, over to you.
Good. So through your worship, just a couple quick updates. Annual tax sale, October 7th, just a reminder for council. Quick water update. Although we've been seeing some spotty rain and that's all good, it hasn't appreciably changed anything in their watershed. We've instituted a release about 2 weeks ago. The water hasn't made its way to the weir as of yet. We anticipate that really any time now. We were going to fly the watershed last Friday, I believe it was, but then it was calling for high winds and everything, so we had postponed the trip. So that's we should have an update on that. I'm hoping this week we should start to see that water arrive. So that's good. Reservoirs are still good. We're still able to pump. There's just not very much water making its way there. So reservoirs are still topped up. We held our all-staff meeting last week. First time I think it's ever been done where we shut facilities down, brought everybody together, had an opportunity to speak on a few items. The mayor was there to address everybody, which was much appreciated and I think very welcome. And it was just a great opportunity to get together and it was something that I think was needed. So thanks for that opportunity to do that. And other than that, arenas are coming along, memorials taking shape. Ovintiv has ice in, and I think that as of today, is it?
Start skating
tomorrow, start skating out there, so things are happening, and and just trying to wrap up projects. I know 112th, I'm sure somebody wants to know what's happening with 112th over by Safeway. I am following up with Joe curb contractors, we're just waiting on curb contractors. Until the curbs go in, we can't finish the road base, you can't pave, you can't do anything. They were supposed to be there yesterday. They weren't. We're following up with the contractor to see where they're at.
Okay. Thank you.
We're at the whim of a sub-trade.
Thank you. An update just on the downtown one. I know like that's pretty much all complete now. That Wildcat lot looks amazing.
Yeah,
The grass is starting to come in.
That was good. I did see that last week that got hydroseeded. We got the trees in. Things are cleaned up. Yeah, it's nice to finish that off.
That one corner where there's that little sunken spot in the concrete, do you know when they're planning to cut that out and replace?
Yeah, I'll follow up with staff. I know it's a warranty item, so we'll make sure it gets done before winter freeze up.
Yeah, could cause some problems if it's still there, so yeah. Okay, thank you, Councillor. Oh, did you? No? Okay. All right, thanks, Kevin. All right, next, is there any other questions for Kevin? Next, 13 diary, nothing there. 14 consent calendar. Anybody want to lift? I'm just wondering, I'd actually like to lift this letter. Motion to lift the letter. Second, Councillor MacDonald. Do I need to vote on that first? Yeah, okay, I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. I just, when I was reading through this, I'm just wondering if it might not be a bad idea for us to reach back out to Canuba, just one, congratulating them, but maybe inviting them to, maybe come as a delegation, or even for us to go out there and just see their operation. They're a huge contributor, one, to the success of Tumbler Ridge, but to the success of the South Peace area. So I just was thinking that it might be nice, and I don't know if the city would have already done that, but I don't know. So I was just thought about that after I seen this on the consent calendar. So would we need to put a motion forward to respond to the letter? Okay. So I'd like to put a motion forward to respond to this letter, one, congratulating them, and Canuma, and also, maybe inviting them to our community council to give a presentation. Do I have a second, Councillor Sudnick? Any discussion? No? All right, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. All right, next media question period. There's no media. And yeah, that's all. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.